Hey there, I want to give you some homework help on some of the odds for page 417 and 418. On day one, you're going to do the odds, and then on day two, you're going to do the evens. So let me just go through a few thoughts as we look at some of the odds. When you have something like this, radical 3 plus 5 radical 3, you can always and should always put a 1 in front of the radical if there is not one. And then you are going to think of this as like 1 apple plus 5 apples and combine them. Now for number 3, the different thing to take into account when doing number 3 is that you do have 2 radicals that don't have coefficients, they don't have numbers, so I would put a 1 on both of those. But when you combine these, you need to think 1 apple plus 4 bananas plus 1 apple. These are like terms, or they're like radicals. This one is not. So do not combine the 4 radical 2 with these two terms. Okay, here's number 5. What I want to tell you about this one is twofold. First of all, we cannot combine the like radicals until they are all simplified, and the square root of 8 needs to be simplified. So if that's the case, then you must draw walls. So you draw the walls and you carry down the signs. This is a plus, this is a minus. So our first job is to break this down into the square root of 4 times the square root of 2. That's 2 times the square root of 2. So you're going to write 2 radical 2 down here. This next one is already as simple as it can be, and so is this one. So we'll just write them down on the bottom row, and I get 3 radical 2 minus 4 radical 2. Now, just like when we did combining like terms, when you circle the terms like this, because they're like radicals, make sure that you also include the minus in front. This is like saying 2 apples plus 3 apples, take away 4 apples. Okay, for a problem like number 11 that's got variables, it does not change how we approach the problem. These cannot be combined because they're not like radicals, but this one can be simplified. If any of them can be simplified, that means we're going to draw the wall. So when I put my minus here, now I'm going to work on simplifying this. The first step is always to give each factor its own radical. The square root of x squared is x. So this term is x radical y. This term on the other side is already simplified, so I'll just write it down as x radical y. And I think you can finish that on your own. Okay, the last problem I want to look at is actually from day 2 because it's an even problem. But I would like to give you some hints on that. So when you look at this, that's as simple as it can be, that's as simple as it can be, and that's as simple as it can be. Now, one thing that I would like you to do would be to put a 1 in front here so that there's a coefficient. Now, the other thing that's helpful, because this is kind of weird, it's got a variable and it's got a radical. But if you notice, they match. So one thing you can do is to kind of make them into cherries. So this is a cherry and this is a cherry. They match. And then maybe I'll make this one into a blueberry. And the other thing I want to do is put a 1 in front of that. So when you look at it, these two match. I've got 1 cherry minus 3 cherries. That would be negative 2 cherries. So write that down. This guy is a radical 2. He doesn't match, so he cannot be combined, and he will just hang out as a blueberry at the end of the problem. Okay, that should help you with the day 1 problems. Make sure you also keep an eye on the assignment notes because I've put some examples and hints in there as well.